Hello, everybody, and welcome to Interview Success Tips with the amazing Marc Dorio, the author of The Idiot's Guide to the Perfect Job Interview. When you are ready, Marc, you're welcome to start your video. If you need any help from me, let me know.
I think I do.
Try that there. Try it. Hit start video there at the, hold on, I'm going to make it so that you can start it. As I'm introducing people, see if that works. I hear you okay. Do you see that little start? It might have, I think it might be right next to the mute button.
I can't start without, it says can't start without you. So
let's see, start video. Come on here and get my team to help me. Zoom sometimes doesn't cooperate with me, Marc. Perfect.
No, you cannot start without.
I want to ask the start video. How did that work? Did that work? Perfect.
Yeah. There we go.
Well, welcome, Marc, to Dentist Job Connect TV.
Hi, doctor.
And we are going to help practice owners that are looking to hire associate dentists. The interviews can be very weird, Marc, right? In general. And the pandemic did not make them any less weird. We got Zoom, we got in person. So we are going to dig in over the next 30 minutes is to your expertise, but just share with our audience. You've been on Dentist Job Connect TV before, you've been on Dental Nachos TV, you're my amazing patient, but you're here as Marc Dorio, consultant, coach, speaker, the author of The Idiot's Guide to the Perfect Job Interview. Share with us your story about interviewing and how you became an expert.
I spent 11 years of my career out of graduate school doing executive search work in New York City. So I was on the recruiting side. I was on the interviewing side of the equation. And because of that, it led me to write a book on how to be an interviewee, and it ended up 3 editions. People really loved it. It got 14 foreign languages. It just took off. So that's really how I got into. I got if I'm bringing the interviewer.
I want to interject for a second. I've read that book. You know, before we get into the dental world, because you know, you always tell me people are people. You could be dentists, you could be employees at ShopRite, you could be a hair salon, you could be Amazon. You know, do we just not have enough good info on how to interview for jobs in general? They kind of just say, graduate from college, go interview, graduate from your master's, go interview. And they kind of leave people out in the lurch as to best practices.
Right. I think the interviewers, people that interview, are not comfortable interviewing. And you think about selection of a new associate or part of your team, whether it's an administrative person or professional staff, is a big decision. It changed the whole complexion of an office if you make the wrong decision. So the interview is really the main tool we have in a selection process. And
I love that. Let's dig into, you know, what I want to set up this context with, Marc, to share with you some of the pain points in dentistry. Dentist Job Connect helps bond practice owners and associates together. You can text HIRE to 215-543-6454 to get help from us. But, you know, practice owners are thinking, is my dental associate going to be too slow and the patient's going to be upset? Is my dental associate going to be someone that's accepted by the team? Is my dental associate, dentists tend to worry about the worst, just how we are. So we're talking right now, if you're a dental practice owner about to interview an associate, you want an associate, you need the help. You know, you've been in our practice, Marc. You see, we have awesome associates. Some have moved on to become periodontists. So there's a circle life. So talk to us about preparing for the interview as a practice owner.
Okay, preparing for the interview, there's 2 things you have to know as a practice owner. First of all, what must the new associate have? What are their must-haves in terms of technical skills?
Must-haves in terms of technical skills.
Okay, that's the first thing. You got to know what you're looking for. And the second piece, which is equally important, is what kind of personal style is that person going to have? Okay, you've got to know that before you even talk to somebody about coming to your practice. So you have to, and how I recommend to practice owners is to take the best associate you have right now. What does that person do well?
Right.
What is their style like? Or what's the best person in your office if you have a bigger practice and you have administrative people? What's the best person? What does she or he do well? What is their personal style? So make almost like a profile, if I could use that term, of what is a person that's going to come in and fit with your team. And you have to know that. And then based on that, we can talk about how to find out if they have those skills in those files.
So what I'll do, Mark, is this is great info. I'm going to play the part of the practice owner looking to hire an associate. So for me,
Right.
a must-have would be the ability to do crowns, filling, night guards, hygiene checks. For me, dental practice owners, we don't need an associate that does root canals, but you may. So make yourself a checklist of your must-haves and know what that is and be able to ask those questions authentically. So technical must-haves. Now, Mark, I'm actually saying this. Do you want to say something about technical must-haves before I go on?
No, I was going to say, yeah, know what they are. And also, what I didn't mention is, are there any knockout factors?
Okay, gotcha.
Maybe it's hours that someone can work, of days they can't work. I mean, think of things that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. The knockout factors, that's so key. You hire someone who has to pick up their children for a reason and you want to work till 7 p.m. It's not going to be
right, exactly right.
You need to figure out this. But now, Mark, and I'm curious, and I always learn something from you. You've been part of our practice, as a patient, and you've coached us. So we have a personality assessment. So I'll use an example for me, and I might be on the right track. We have a really awesome house office in Pennington, New Jersey, but on busy days, there's a lot of traffic. So if you are an associate that, there's a lot of things going on, people coming out of rooms, and we run it well, like a busy restaurant. But if you are not the personality type that maybe can deal with a lot of things flying around, maybe a small practice where there's only one dentist and you is the best fit. But I don't know if I'm sure. What are these personality profile factors? Like, what's an example I could ask an associate on an interview? I ask about the clinical must-haves. That sounds good. No knockout factors. And now I'm thinking, I want to make sure it's the right fit personality-wise. How do I ask those questions?
Okay, the best way to do it is to look at your own current team. What styles, what behaviors does your current team have? Make a list of them. Yeah. Maybe there are people who are very patient. Maybe there are people that will help each other out readily. Maybe there's a team that likes to work with older patients. Maybe you have a practice of a lot of seniors, or you have, certain. So make a profile of what you currently have in stock, and then what you're trying to do is what's going to fit in.
Yeah,
style will fit with the people we currently have, because that's the biggest thing. I come from family practice. Then I had 2 chairs and 4 people. You hire another person, that's 25% of your.
Yes,
that makes a big difference. And even if you have multiple offices, if one person doesn't fit or 2 people don't fit, my heavens, you've got yourself a headache already.
So, and what it sounds like, I love that. What it sounds like to me, and we're actually interviewing someone from one of our companies today as we're doing this interview, and this candidate is here observing for 3 hours. We went past the first interview, we're on to the second interview. So this candidate can see what happens in game. I think what's key, Mark, is we're too judgmental. And just because someone isn't the right fit for your practice doesn't mean they're not the right fit for any practice, but really defining, because too often a practice owner goes, my associate didn't work out. I say, tell me more about that. You taught me to say that, Mark, right?
Yes.
Tell me more about that. They said, well, they were great with dentistry, but they just didn't get along with the patients. Tell me more about that, right? Because these are the things, Mark, I think we could be asking prior to the hire. Maybe that's a whole phrase, prior to the hire. So you don't have to fire, right? Prior to the hire, so you don't have to fire.
And then what you do, knowing your profile, then you can ask behavioral questions that get to that. For example, you might ask, so I wrote a couple down, say, you may ask a person to understand, instead of saying, do you like to work with an older patient base? Oh, yeah, I'm fine with that. No. I want to ask a question that says, okay, for example, what's the most difficult patient situation you ever had, either in your training or in your last job? What was a difficult patient and how'd you handle it?
Yeah.
Don't just say, are you good with difficult patients? Oh, I'm great with difficult patients.
Right.
No, ask them an open-ended question where they have to describe to you a difficult situation, how they handled it. Or if you want to find out if they work with as a team, what happens, a question I often would ask, what happens if you have a disagreement with a colleague on a treatment plan? How did you handle that?
Those are so valuable. I hope whether you're watching in with us live on Facebook Live, where you're listening to this, get these questions. I have these notebook marked, and I always say each interviewer should have, like, each person, the seeker and the interviewer should have a little notebook like this and say, I'm going to take a few notes about the practice. And over here on this page, you have your cheat sheet, right? And you have, what is a difficult scenario? Because one of the things I find, Mark, is when I talk to Marc Dorio in the office, you're my friend, I've known you for years, but the first time I ever met you, and you had a lot of dental work to do. I wasn't calm. I said, oh, I got to tell this person about his teeth. I do this. I forget, right? So that's why you need these cheat sheets. And I think that's great. Tell me about a difficult patient scenario. And practice owners, be authentic. I would say this, Mark, you're going to say, hey, Dr. Mark, I had a really challenging patient scenario once when a crown didn't fit, and the person called me the worst dentist in the world. And what I had to do was explain that we are doing full contact arts and crafts, and sometimes we need to return this crown to the lab so we get the best fit possible for you, Mark. And I know you're frustrated, but I want to make sure this is the best fit possible. So
And
now
also what you do is don't ask a lot of closed-end questions. You got to answer yes or no. Even with the technical.
yeah.
Are you good with crowns? Oh, yes. No, I want to tell me more about that.
Right.
Give me the example, right?
And I think what you do, Mark, what you're sharing is, I'm using one of your things you've helped me with that I've been so grateful for, situation, behavior, impact, SBI. And it fits here because you're basically describing a situation, talking about the behavior. What happens when a patient says, I don't want your treatment plan, it's too expensive, right? It's too expensive. How do you deal with that? And be authentic, practice. Don't make it like you have all the answers. Just say, what do you do? Maybe I can learn from you. One of the questions I suggest people ask, Mark, as a practice owner is, would you share with me something you learned at a previous office that we would benefit from here? Because you might learn something. You might say, oh, we have this new system that text message patients for their appointments. And I would say, great. Or practice owners, this is a Paul tip, and Mark, you can share with me this. I'm sure you see this with your coaching. It doesn't matter if it's a dental office or ShopRite or a contractor. When they're hiring their first time, they're hiring that employee and they have no track record and the employee's never worked in that position before, you have to really be aware, right? First time. So when they say to an associate, when I say, Mark, hey, Dr. Mark, share with me a system, and you go, this is my first associateship, Dr. Paul, it doesn't mean I don't hire you. It just means I know you're not coming with any previous experience, which has pros, but also can have some challenges, especially in a technical field like dentistry.
Yes, yes. So you have to be aware of all that. And I think also be aware of your own biases too. I have a thing I call the halo effect, which is you like this person instantly because they went to the University of Penn or the same dental school, right? All right, they're fine. And there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes the halo means I overlook the critical. I don't ask those critical questions, or I don't listen to the critical answers because I like this person. I look at the background here. I went to the same school. We went to, they listed down their hobbies. They play golf. I play golf. So that could be a bias. So you have to really, right? You've seen that, right? For
sure. You see that all the time. And that's such a key point to be aware of as that's why creating a checklist of questions that you put in your book are so important. I want to shift to another topic here, Mark, in a second, but anyone who's joining us in the chat is welcome to ask questions in the Q&A. We're speaking with Marc Dorio. I'm Dr. Nacho. Mark wrote The Idiot's Guide to the Perfect Job Interview, an amazing coach, amazing consultant. But let's talk about the M word, Mark, that matters all the time, and that's money. And sometimes I believe, and I want to share with practice owners, the new dentists, they're going to be afraid to talk about money. So I bring it up myself, but maybe you could just give us some talking points. You're the practice owner. You're thinking, I really like this candidate so far. Seems like the must-haves, the personality, but now I got to introduce the money part. How would you either ask about it or introduce it? I think it's something people are afraid to talk about, but it's so important.
And money from an interviewee's point of view, money, somebody bring up money is what I call a good tell, a good buy tell if they're interested. Okay, so when somebody starts asking about money, and you can ask a couple of questions. What are you looking for? What do you need? There are two different questions. Okay, and from an interviewee's point of view, I often say you have to do some research yourself. You have to kind of know what the market looks like.
Yes, exactly.
Lawrenceville, New Jersey, or
Mark, I just want to jump in. Dentist Job Connect, we've created this site. You can look at it. You can scroll on your phone through 170 jobs to get context. If you're a new dentist who thinks you're going to make $300,000 a year, that's rare. If you're a new dentist who thinks you're going to make $50,000 a year, that's too low. So I think your golden nacho there, Mark, is do some research. So you know what's in the industry so you can present to the person a framework or a range.
Yes. And I think that becomes a very, very important conversation because now, again, we know we're interested in each other if we're talking about how can we make this happen financially? Okay.
And
And then
we're
also
doing
look at the whole package, look at what it looks like in terms of distances of travel. You know, we got $5 a gallon gas. I mean,
yeah.
what does that mean if
And
I
what I
got
think, Mark,
30
is
miles?
the value we're sharing here is beyond the interview. But you're a coach, and you might be talking to Paul Goodman saying, I could help this guy, I can help him with his team, and I can help him train. And he's not asking me what I charge. So at some point you would say, as a coach, most of my clients are used to paying $1,200 a month, and we have a 3-month program, right? I'm just using an example.
Yes.
And you
Okay.
see the person's face and they say, oh, that's great. They say, if I say, well, I was expecting you to pay $20 a month, Mark, we're not a fit. It's a knockout factor.
Right.
So I think as a practice owner, I'll role model this a little bit. Say the interview is, I know new dentists have a lot of debt. You've done you've spent all this time becoming a dentist. And the way it works in this practice is most of our associates earn between $150,000 and $180,000. Is that a range that would fit for you? And then immediately you're going to know yes or no, and I think that money can be, I could be wrong, money could be a big knockout factor. Am I accurate, Mark?
Yes, that's right. And I like the fact you're using a range. Okay?
Yeah.
As opposed to saying this is a salary, this is a compensation. Yes.
And I think what you're training us to do is these conversations are not battles. They're not win lose. They're and go into them with that because I believe there's too much. I believe in general, there's just a feeling of too much animosity sometimes on these interviews when really I think of it, I get a chance to meet a new person, talk with them, and hopefully they're a fit. And if they're not, you never know what happens later. I mean, do you find that if I could just ask you, what's a good advice for hiring managers for their mindset? What's some good advice for a practice owner for their mindset going into an interview?
Well, I think what you want to do, first of all, you want to make it a conversation.
Yeah.
Second, you want to show your own practice in the best light.
Yeah.
And if you don't hire that person will still go and talk about the experience they had. So you want to make sure they leave feeling good about their experience with you. And third, like you say, you don't know in the future what's going to happen, whether that person will come back again in another couple of years, So you want to really want to put your best foot forward in terms of who you are. And I like the fact that you let people come in and meet your staff too. I think that's important.
Yeah. I would say, I'm doing it right now with one of our referred dentist shop neck. I say, hey, come in for 3 hours, see how we work, see us in game, right? Anybody could be good on a first date, Mark. Anybody could be good at a Starbucks. When you go into their home and see how their home operates, when you go into their business, you get a feel, oh man, this, even me, people think I'm very friendly. I am friendly, Mark, but behind the scenes, I'm like a tornado, right? I run from thing to thing. I say, do this, I do that.
Right.
Maybe people say, that guy's going to stress me out. And if they say that, say, no problem. And that happens in dental offices too. So I think,
Sure. I often tell interviewees, get to a interview early and sit in the waiting room.
Yeah. Great.
Say, I'm here to see Dr. Goodman. It's it's 1:14. I'm going to see him at 1:30. Don't tell him I'm here yet. I'm here early. I just want to sit for a few minutes and just sit and observe the staff and what you hear. And it's amazing what you pick up just sitting in a waiting room.
Sure. And that's the C word for culture. And what I'll share is, at Pennington Dental, our culture is one of a lot of systems, a lot of checklists, a lot of checkpoints. So our associates are, when I say forbidden, that's not a nice word. When I say it's not part of our system for them to just present money to patients. They don't do it. We have a system. Kate, we go to Kate, we have a system. We want to make sure it's the right thing. And they might say, this is too restrictive for me. And I'll say, maybe there's another office you, but that's unless you go to a place, and that's why practice owners suggest that no matter how nice or awesome the person is, say, hey, why don't you come for 3 hours, hang out with us, see how this feels. We want to make sure this is the right fit for you. And that's literally what I said to this candidate today, Mark. I said, at the end of this 3 hours, I want you to tell us, this seems like a really good place for me and a good fit. I need to think about this a little more and get more clarifying questions, or this isn't a good fit for me. Because I believe, Mark, like we talked about, you can find these things out prior to hiring if you spend the time and ask the right questions.
Yes, because again, go back to basically you are who you hire.
Right.
Right. And you want to make the right decision for yourself and for that person. I mean, there's an obligation here. And I think that, again, make it a conversation that you get to know the person. I think so oftentimes practice owners look at an interview like an interrogation.
Yeah.
or a quiz in graduate school, right?
Right.
And it's not a one-way street. It's not me asking you questions, you giving me answers. I often want practice owners to say, what do you want to know about us? What do you know
Yeah,
about
right.
me? Right? Ask me questions. I mean, and people often shocked by, what do you mean? You're supposed to be interviewing me? No, you're interviewing that practice owner also.
And
Right.
one of the things I'll add before we wrap up a few minutes, Mark, is, dentists are professionals, but they're people too. So if you're a practice owner, make sure you ask some people-oriented questions. They don't have to necessarily be probing questions or uncomfortable questions. Sometimes I ask people this, Mark, what's a good TV show you've seen recently? You want to know why? Maybe I didn't see it and they would let me know a good one to watch, but it disarms people sometimes when you just ask some, hey, in Pennington, New Jersey, have you been to any good restaurants here? Because I would like to learn a new one. And it lets people kind of talk about things they're an expert in, as opposed to sometimes these challenging questions.
And you loosen them up and they reveal more about themselves.
Yeah.
So the secret of a good interviewer is basically to be a good listener.
Right.
A really good active listener. Tell me more about that. What I hear you saying is, somebody says, you say, how do you feel about working, with in a group setting or with with certain degree of patients? Oh, I love that. Say more about that.
Yeah.
So more you can get people to reveal themselves, and in fact, as an interviewer, you should speak less than more.
I think that's so, and what you're sharing is, I have an amazing 3-year-old, but she really is a three-nager, Mark, we call her. And, she's, so someone goes, I'm a babysitter. I love babysitting 3-year-olds. They go, I've only ever done, 12-year-olds. I said, well, you don't even know, because my 3-year-old, she's insane, right? So like, you need to tell me more about the time you babysat a 3-year-old. Oh, I've never done that. Well, I'm so happy you're positive that you're going to like it. But, if you put the wrong TV channel on at the wrong time, she's going to start yelling at you. So I think it's really what you said there is a lot of patients coming through the office in a day. Is that going to be too disruptive for you?
That's right. Okay. How do you feel about working with younger patients or with teenagers? I don't know. No, who your patient base is, and you want to be sure that person's comfortable with that. And just don't take yes or no answers. Probe. Give me an example of a time when you work with a
This is your time to really find that fit. Now, Mark, you've helped me personally in so many ways. If someone's listening and they have a hiring manager or they're a practice owner, could you help coach them with some interview skills? How could they reach out to you and say, you know what, Mark, this video was great, but I need more than this video. Where can they reach out?
I do this all the time. I spend my days doing this. So two ways you can do it. You can do it. It's mdorio at dorioconsulting.com. So it's MDORIO at dorioconsulting.com. Or you can call me directly at 609-306-1187. And both those ways people find me. So I can help you. And just an hour or whatever time you can spare one-on-one, I can actually help you develop questions for your
Mark, what I share is interviewing people right now, we're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes. We'll have other sequels, but it's an insane hiring world for every industry, right? People are resigning. People don't want to come into work. People want to come into work. People want to work from home. People want this. If you run a business, you need people, and you need to figure out how to ask questions, whether you're interviewing a dental associate, whether you're interviewing a dental hygienist, whether you're interviewing anyone. And Mark, you give people the behind the scenes training. And what I think is cool, they can use it over and over again.
Yes.
Because they're going to need to use it over and over again.
And it's well worth it, what you give me for in terms of a fee for an hour, because you're talking to somebody who could be with you for many years to come. And if they're a great person, fantastic. Yeah. So this is really an investment.
I would say this, Mark, and dentists spend more working on their golf game and they stink. You may as well spend more on your practice too, right? Spend on your golf game, but you're still shooting. No offense to someone who shoots 98, but awesome, Mark. Love talking with you. If you guys would like to reach out to us for any reason, you can do so at dentistjobconnect.com. We can connect you to Mark. Just reach out to us, dentistjobconnect.com, or text higher to 215-543-6454. Stay on with me, Mark, but a Facebook Live crew. We'll see you later.
Okay. Thank you. My pleasure.